We're going to go ahead and get started back here again. Now we have Alexyss Lindsey, who for this summer was in Louisville at the Backside Learning Center. So go ahead and take it away, Lexi.
If you speak to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you speak to a man in his language, that goes to his heart. This quote by Nelson Mandela has followed me through most of my high school and now college career. It has inspired me because it is the reason that I do what I do. It is the reason why I actually did my internship this summer, which I will get to in a little bit. And it's the reason why I've taken most of the positions I have. Language has and always will be an important part of who I am, and an important part of what I bring to the table. Language enables me to see the heart of people, and it also enables me to learn about myself. But before I get ahead of myself, I want to introduce myself better. Ooh. So, my name is Alexyss Lindsey, and I'm a senior Spanish and education major with a religion minor here at Berea College. I'm from Owensboro, Kentucky, and ever since I was little, I've just wanted to make a difference in the community, and I've wanted to serve my community. So, when I got to Berea College, the first thing that I did was I signed up to take the Changemakers course with GSTR 110 because I figured if I needed to serve the community, then I needed to learn how to make a change. And what this course actually taught me was a lot about language, and it taught me that changemakers have different aspects of language that they use in order to make a difference, in order to inspire people. And as the semester progressed, I realized that there were still gaps in my understanding of who I was and also how I could make a difference. And so therefore, I decided to apply for EPG and got in for the summer. And so EPG definitely taught me a lot more about speaking and about making a difference in the community, especially through action. And so I decided that I needed to begin to explore my passions as the semester progressed. And I knew that I was going to have to do an EPG internship. And so I decided to work eventually with Forest Children. And Forest Children was in Ecuador, and I taught English to two little kids. And I also learned a lot about myself in this internship. What I learned was that I did not like large classrooms, and that I was definitely not cut out to be the teacher that I always thought I wanted to be. But that was mainly because I wanted to communicate with kids one-on-one. I really wanted to communicate with the kids in their language and learning style, and I couldn't do that in a large classroom setting. And so after that summer, I decided to reevaluate my options, and what I discovered was that I really, really wanted to look into speech pathology, which is more one-on-one, and it's a lot more focused on language and how children can express themselves. And so I began looking for internships for the next summer to work with a speech pathologist. I don't know if any of you all know anything about speech pathology, but it's not very easy if you don't have a degree to get an internship. People don't really want you working with kids unless you actually have the experience to back it up. So with that out, I decided to go back to the drawing board because I knew I wanted to do something with my summer. And I talked with my advisor, and she actually suggested that I look into a place called the Backside Learning Center, which I had already heard about. And she also suggested that I look into Johnny and Friends. And so I began in December really sorting through applications and applying to a couple of these places. And I was interested in the Backside Learning Center because they work with the Latino population, and it would give me a chance to grow in areas that I was interested in growing, such as administration and especially teaching adults. And it also helped that I had heard previously that an EPG fellow had done an internship with the Backside Learning Center, and their presentation was amazing, and it really inspired me. And the deal was kind of sealed when I went into the Backside Learning Center for an interview. And at the interview, I basically fell in love with the place. The environment was very welcoming, and it actually seemed like they cared about their constituents in a way that really inspired me and really made me want to work with them. And so that is what I ended up doing. I got an internship with the Backside Learning Center. I had intended to show a video, but that isn't working, and so therefore I'm going to move on and kind of try to explain the video a little bit. The video is basically about a couple of the constituents that I was able to work with this summer, and it kind of tells the story of a man he's a jockey from, I think, Venezuela, and he has his wife and kids here, and he's working at the track at Churchill Downs, and that's where the Backside Learning Center is based. The Backside Learning Center's biggest mission is to empower equine workers and their families to thrive. And they have two central programs in their center, and those programs primarily work with adults, and then there's the other program that works with families. And the adult program really works teaching people English and also giving them skills to be able to just support themselves and to live lives like within the United States. And the child program works more with like after-school activities, and they also teach English to the parents while the children are getting after-school help. I primarily worked with the adult program myself because that was a goal that I had for everything that I wanted to do, especially because I hadn't ever had experience with adults in the past. And it was just kind of an opportunity to explore something that I hadn't been able to explore before. So I would also like to introduce you to the people that I worked with this summer. This is a group. Here are a couple of volunteers, and then some of our students. And that's Lauren, and we have Sherry, who's the executive director, and we have Mariah, who's the director of the family program, and there's a couple of other people who aren't featured on there. But I guess my main point with this is that all of these people, all of the people who work and volunteer with the Backside Learning Center, they revolve around the students. Like their primary objective is to meet the needs of the students, of the track workers. They aren't there to, I guess, get a paycheck. They build relationships, and it's in the way that they speak, and then also in the way that they act in their body language. You can just see the passion and how they stay late to play, to build puzzles with the constituents. They stay late for birthdays, and they go to weddings, and there's always something to eat at the Backside Learning Center for constituents, and they really inspired me to establish something like that when I am older and have the funds to do so. Unsurprisingly, the BLC's attitude lined up with the EPG cycle abilities, allowing me to encounter them for the third time in my place of work and in different ways. And so my first was engaging complexity and uncertainty. And at the Backside Learning Center, you never really know what you're going to do. There's always drop-in visits throughout the day. And so people will come in for their mail. They'll come in asking for help applying for housing. They'll come in asking for help to get their child out of detention. It's kind of the whole gamut of things. And so you just kind of have to be able to adapt and to work with the constituent, even if you haven't had any kind of prior experience with that. And of course, the staff were there to support us, but really, as interns, we were on our own to help the students. And you also see that in the classroom. So when I was working with the ELL teacher, we didn't really know when people would show up, if they would show up, because their track schedules were just so different. So sometimes we would walk in and there would be 2 students. And other times we'd walk in and there'd be 30. So it was really just luck of the draw, and we had to be able to adapt to that. Another is recognizing opportunity. And we are always assessing and reassessing need within the community. They tend to change programs every cycle so that they can better meet the needs of the people. For example, one one day they might be working with students teaching them how to play guitar. But then, next cycle, everyone's kind of learned how to play guitar, they're a little tired of it, so they might end up teaching them how to fix bicycles, or sometimes they do citizenship tests. Something they're really, really good at is recognizing opportunity in the community as well. So the resources at the Backside Learning Center are admittedly pretty small. So therefore, they tend to refer people out to places in the community and allow them to just meet those needs. Finally, we have mobilizing resources. The director, so with mobilizing resources, the BLC constantly works to assess where their assets are and how they can grow these assets. The volunteer coordinator is really good at assessing the human capital that the program provides, and so getting volunteers and keeping them there. Because it's not just about how many people we can get into the door, it's about keeping those people in the door. We also have my role as at the Backside Learning Center. And so what I did was a lot of teaching, and I also was able to implement my love for language and understand that it's more than just speaking. What I discovered was that roles allow critical thinking and adaptability. My role allowed critical thinking and adaptability skills. I wasn't just teaching or doing paperwork. I was in several different roles that required different types of language. For example, I helped sort through potential hires for the Director of Development program. And so what I ended up doing was having to draft rejection letters, and that changed my language a lot than when I was drafting letters asking people to apply for the second round of interviews. So I had to kind of learn how to draft rejection letters and what tone of voice to use during that. So I had some challenges. I'm really bad at decision making. And I had a lot of decisions to make. I had to be able to set my hours and my work schedule. And I wasn't very comfortable with it, but I came to enjoy that freedom. I also had a great success. I was able to learn a lot more self-confidence. I'm still a little shaky on that. I get really nervous when I do presentations, but I'm really trying to work on that. And the executive director really helped me. Sherry really worked with me to build my self-confidence and teach me that I'm a capable young woman. So I want to just give you all some tips for when you do your own internships, or if you're going to be going off to graduate school, that kind of thing. What I've learned a lot is that language is integral. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a Spanish major. Ability to adapt to language, the ability to play with policy and politics, those are really integral skills to have when you are working, especially in places of business. Being able to put on faces and, there are situations that require you to be very formal. And then there are others where you can just, have a different type of language where you can relax, where you can be very friendly to people. So learn to speak the language, literally and metaphorically. Also show up. Show up. When you show up, you should come early and stay late. You'll be better off for it. It'll allow you to get to know the organization, and it'll also give you the opportunity to do things you never thought you would do. For example, I got to go barn walking because I showed up early. And barn walking was my favorite thing in the world. I got to talk with constituents one-on-one, and it was a lot easier than talking to them in a huge group setting. Finally, wash the dishes. It's grueling and time-consuming, I know, but some poor unfortunate soul always has to do it. So be that poor unfortunate soul, and be cheerful about it. It's difficult, I know. You always have something better to do, but you don't get anywhere without doing a little bit of dirty work. And everyone will appreciate you for it. And you'll appreciate yourself when they don't ask you to do that later on in the day, and you actually have other things to do. So what's next? Overall, I do not plan to do anything with nonprofit administration in the future. God willing, I would like to establish a nonprofit in my community. But I would like to take a back seat in the actual management of this place because as Backside Learning Center has taught me, I'm not actually into administration work. I really like the idea of being a speech pathologist even more now because I've worked with adults. Because it's shown me that I love the idea that you can work with kids and you can work with anyone like from age 2 to age 50 or 60. And that's just really nice to not to have to decide I'm working with these people for the rest of my life. God willing, in the future I will apply for graduate school and embark on this new journey. So although my position at the BLC is not exactly what I plan to do with the rest of my life, I found it enriching and an integral part to my college experience. It's allowed me to put pieces together from my experiences in previous years. It has allowed me to be able to come before you and speak in public, and I know that I've been stuttering a little bit, but I'm working on it. The language is becoming more and more valuable to me and more important to who I am. Language is a valuable capital that helps develop relationships and keeps organizations running. Passion can only burn so bright without the knowledge to implement that passion. As a wise man once said, head plus heart equals hustle. I would like to challenge you all today to apply that to whatever you are pursuing, be it an internship, graduate school, a project. Put your head and your heart together to create hustle and change the world.
So Lexi, I had two comments. The first is, some of you may not know this, but I was really nervous as a speaker before I came to Berea College. So I just want to say you did a fantastic job, incredible job overcoming that fear. I loved your presentation. Second, when you said wash the dishes, there's several different kind of things. We heard one in the first convo where the guy said make your bed. It's that thing that you do even though no one else is doing it, but you do it to kind of humble yourself, and you do the dirty work that no one else is willing to do. And I think it was either the reason that you or Lucas or somebody made it into the Bonner program. Am I right on that? Someone made it into the Bonner program because they washed the dishes when no one else did. They stepped up and they said, here, I'll wash the dishes when they were at Michigan. So I really, really appreciated that. So no question, but I wanted those two comments to go out. Good job.
Lexi, I'm really interested in knowing how you saw language as a way to understand people. Because I come from I speak 3 languages, but it came as a spontaneous to me. Like I had to learn it. I didn't really think about it because I had to do it in yourself. But how did you get into learning it intentionally for a reason? I don't know if I should start hearing more.
Do you mean like the Spanish language,
Yes,
or
the
do you mean, yeah?
The language, yeah.
So for Spanish, what it got me into it was that it was just offered in my middle school, but I really fell in love with like the structure of it and like just the idea of being able to communicate with people. You know, communication is, I guess, something like really important to me because I want to build that relationship between people. Relationships a huge aspect of my life, and that continued until I joined my church community, which also speaks Spanish, and so it's just kind of built itself throughout my life. Yes, Robin?
So, what do you want to do, Lexi Bean, going forward, like with promoting your love for language with other people besides speech pathology? What do you think you would want to do besides that?
Besides speech pathology, well, I had mentioned working with a nonprofit or establishing it in my community, and that is kind of where I'm going with language, I guess, because there's nowhere for people who are Hispanic or who are learning English to go to just to learn the language, you know, somewhere that's free, that isn't willing, you know, like you don't have to, you can come as you are. And so I think that's a huge plan that I have, is just establishing something like that.
All right, thanks a lot.